Hey, it's Ben Laube with Ben Laube Homes, brokered by eXp Realty. And I'm here with Mitch Ribak, a wonderful serial entrepreneur who has built 23 companies over his lifetime, and I'm sure quite a few more to go. You also moved one of the largest brokerages, independent brokerages, to eXp Realty back in the day. And at eXp Realty, he is a mover and a shaker and an attractor and has built a organization of over 2,000 agents.
2,200, yeah.
2,200 agents. So wanted to take some time and ask you some questions on getting some feedback with all your experience and going through different market cycles. What do you think an agent now, with the market shifts that's happening, what do you think an agent now should be focusing on maybe differently that they haven't been focusing on before? Because everyone knows the market went crazy in 2020, 2021.
Right.
And so many people got into the market from a real estate perspective. Real estate agents got into the market. And how should they be adjusting now if they're new?
So I'm a big believer in going back to basics. And so anytime anybody ever comes to me and they're struggling, I'm like, let's just take a step back and look at what you're doing in basics. So we talked about this morning, we talked about open houses, right? They're a lost art. Doing them correctly could be great. Going back to your sphere, I mean, that's really the number one thing, is you have so many people in your sphere of influence that'll help you grow your business. But part of it's a mindset. You know, I'll give you an example. When the market crashed in 08, 9, 10, I had my brokerage, and it was January 2006 is when we actually started noticing the shift. And I had 100 listings in the brokerage at that time, and not one had sold for 6 months. And I could tell something was going wrong here. I said, all right, we have all this inventory, and nothing's selling. There's about to be a huge change. And like being an entrepreneur, you recognize those things.
Yeah.
Because real estate is no different than any other product. It's just another product. Okay? So basically, I told all my agents that didn't like me for this. I said, no more listings. They're like, what do you mean? List to exist, all that stuff. I go, there's too many listings, nothing's selling. The last thing we want to do is get more inventory.
Yeah.
We're going to become a buyer brokerage. And for the next 4 or 5 years, we did not take one listing.
Oh, really?
Right. We probably took a couple, but I told my agents they had to be at least 5% below market.
Okay.
Or they wouldn't sell. So we're going back to basics. Just, go back to basics. What are you doing now? And remember, it's all about lead generation. If you're not generating leads, you're not generating business. You should always be adding new people to your database every day. That should be your job every day. How do I add more people to my database?
Yeah, and I think that's a consistency thing, right? Everyone goes through those market cycles of, you have a great month of sales, and then you get through those transactions and there's nothing in your pipeline, right? If you're not consistently adding people to your pipeline, whether it's customers or adding people to your database, you're just going to constantly feel that roller coaster.
Yeah, and the whole key of a business, I don't care what business you're in, but in real estate, since we're realtors, it's about keeping consistent. And if you're not consistent, you won't have a consistent business. That's why you see most realtors are in this level, their entire life. And let's face it, that's a really crappy job. Is what they built. They didn't build a business; they built a crappy job.
Yeah, very tiresome job too.
Yes, exactly.
So you've built 23 companies over your life so far. Many more to come.
Yeah,
and
only a few more to come.
Only a few more. And you have seen market cycles shift. How, as a business owner, whether it's real estate or not, what are you looking for? Or is there something that you do in the way that you're managing your business that allows you to kind of predict that coming or see that ahead of the curve, if that makes sense?
Part of that's innate. It's just intuition. And, I was the first online dating service. I think you knew that. And, I had a regular dating service. And when the AOL came out with their little discs they used to send to everybody before you guys were all born, they would, I said, wow, wouldn't it be cool if people could do this from their home instead of having to come to my office? Yeah, you couldn't at the time. There was the technology. It took a year for the technology to catch up to my thoughts.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really, again, the business is not relevant. It's understanding that this is how people do things. And what you find is when nobody changes when the market changes. They keep doing what they're doing, which is why you'll see a lot of brokerages going out of business right now, and a lot of agents going out. We're seeing, I think we're up to 90,000 agents have left the industry already in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's going to keep going, because what you'll find is the people who are not building businesses and not putting in the work and the ethic to do it they're going to fail and they're going to go get a job.
Yeah. And so it always goes back to that consistency and the consistency in marketing.
Yeah.
And is there like daily habits that you do now as a business owner instead of an individual agent. Like, if, we talked about being an individual agent now. What's your life now as a team leader and an organization leader?
Well, I'm very much into routines.
You're what?
Into routines.
Okay.
I mean, if you're not following a routine, you don't have a structure. So with what I do, because I am extremely busy, but I will tell you, I'm all about efficiency also. Because one of the things the mistake I made is I worked 80 to 100 hours a week my entire life, and I missed one thing in my life. My life. True story.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed my life. I'm very passionate about that now. In fact, my next business will be consulting with businesses on how to create a life, not a business. A business and a life.
Yeah.
How to run a business properly to have a life.
That work-life balance.
Oh, so I work 35 hours a week now. But I'm very structured. I'll give you my routine. It's pretty structured. I get up at 5 o'clock every day, almost every day, not weekends, but during the week. I sit there with an hour with my dog. I have a golden doodle. She's awesome. Her name is Bee. And we watch one of my crime shows. I love those crime shows, right? NCIS and all those. And then I take her for a walk. I come back in. I take a shower. I always end my shower with a 3-minute cold shower. And the cold showers unbelievably changed my life. That was about 6 months ago. It just gives you the energy, 4, 5, 6 hours of unbelievable energy. And then I drive to work. I have a 30-minute drive to my office. And all I do is listen to comedy.
Okay.
Don't listen to news, by the way. Shut the news off. It's all crap. And so
Why comedy?
I laugh.
There we
Gets
go.
me in the mood.
Yeah.
I laugh. And it makes me better on my calls.
Yeah.
Like when I'm making calls, I'm funny. I think I'm funny. But that's the beauty of it. Like I have this whole energy of comedy and laughing, and I'm that guy in the car laughing his butt off while I'm driving to work. Then I get to work and I play my guitar for 30 minutes, right, every day. And then I'm working on a new book now, so when I'm writing a book, I'll write for 15 minutes. And then at 9 o'clock, I stop my calls.
Talk about a strict morning routine, but a structured one.
Structured.
And I like the fact that your morning routine has not just the normal, like, I mean, if you think of someone who's just driving to the office for work, right? Get up, shower, change, have breakfast, get in the car and go, right? Nothing about that is preparing their mindset for what they're about to enter. And I love that you have, the moments with your dog, the cold plunge, the, sitting there and listening to comedy is setting a positive mindset once you arrive.
In my meditation, so, I try to meditate the whole, I go there, you know what I think about? Everything. And so Tony Robbins' son, Jack Robbins, gave me a coaching session about 6 months ago, which kind of changed my life. He goes, well, do you meditate? I said, well, every time I meditate, I think about everything I got to do.
Yeah.
And he saw my guitar in the background. He goes, well, you play guitar? He goes, do you play? At that time, I was only playing 15 minutes a day. He goes, when you play guitar, what do you think about? I go, guitar. He goes, that's meditation. So I know everybody sees these people going over the whole mind thing. And, you don't have to do it. It's about making your mind get off of everything that distracts you in your life for 30 minutes.
So in reality, meditation is singularly focusing on one thing or focusing on just one thing.
And just not work. I'm playing guitar for 49 years. I love my guitar.
Yeah.
It's the only constant in my entire life since I was 13 with my guitar. And so that's why I went from 15 minutes to 30 minutes on it. And that's my meditation before I start my day.
Yeah.
So it helps me when I'm writing my books. It helps me spend the next 15 minutes very productive because I had a clear mind for the last 30 minutes. And then when I'm ready to go on my call at 9 o'clock, it's like, ready. Let's rock. Let's have a good time.
That's
and
amazing.
I'm very, very seldom off. I mean,
just in energy or
you've known me for a long time. I'm always this, right? So I am, but even like on my calls, even if I don't feel good, my routine gets me in the mode to be successful.
That's the power of the routine.
Yeah, routines are really important.
Do you have a nighttime routine?
No, I don't. I will tell you what I've learned, and because I was terrible at it for all my life, is I've learned to be present. So when I get home, it's my wife's time. Right? We don't have our kids are all older than you, so I get home and what do we want to do for dinner, and we just relax and we'll watch TV or we'll just talk.
The quality,
it's very quality time, and I'll tell you, for people that are entrepreneurs out there, you have to be present when you're not working. You've got to be able to compartmentalize. Because you're missing out on life, and more important, you're going to get divorced. Your kids will hate you. I mean, it's just now. Luckily, my kids still like me. They didn't recognize that I wasn't there because I was physically there, but I was never there.
And it's interesting because I feel like when a lot of people get in as an entrepreneur or as a real estate agent, you can make as much money as you want, based on how hard you work. You can work 80 to 120 hours a week or whatever you physically can do, but no one ever teaches the mindset of, hey, if you only allow yourself 40 hours a week, right, to produce the same, will you figure out those efficiencies of making it work, right? And I think that's definitely a missing core of a lot of the training that is out there. What would you say when you're talking about this third book you're writing, right? What's the path there with that third book?
Well, it's called The Psychology of a Realtor. Actually, I have to change the Psychology of a Real Estate Agent because
Yeah, branding.
But it's really, I really want to dig deep in why people don't succeed. 86% fail in our business,
Yeah,
which blows my mind. And I understand a couple of concepts. Part of it is they came from a job where they knew to move this piece of paper over to here and this piece of paper over to here, and that was their job. And they had to be at work at 8 o'clock or they get fired. And then they get their real estate license. Well, hey, I don't have to be up. They sleep till 9, then they get on, have some coffee, watch Oprah.
they can work whenever they
Call their
want.
friend at 10 o'clock, hey, you want to meet for lunch?
Yeah.
And have a couple of drinks. Well, I think I'm just going to go home. I mean, that's really what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, we make jokes about it, but it's really true. But it's also the lack of investment in the business. So people don't run this as a business.
Yeah.
And it's one I say, these are my missions right now is efficiency in running a business. People don't run a business in our business.
So let's dive deeper in that, because before we started recording, you mentioned that you track everything.
Right.
So what are the things that a newer agent or an agent that wants to go from 3 million in sales to 10 million in sales, what are they probably not tracking that they really need to be monitoring more closely?
And mostly it's their time.
Okay.
They're not tracking their time.
Yeah.
And so we did an exercise years ago now, and it was one of the best exercises I've ever done, where we had every agent of mine track every minute of every day for 7 days. And we found our agents that were doing really well. And by the way, none of them were up here. They were all doing okay, right? They were doing, $5-6 million a year in sales. Nobody was 20, 30 million. We had a couple of those, but
Yeah.
they're working 3.5 hours a day, actually working.
Yeah.
They're full time. Our agents that were doing $2-3 million a year, they were working 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Our agents that were failing weren't working. Like they really were working maybe an hour a day.
Yeah.
They'll do, and they, the thing is, what you look at as work, like, me and you have this conversation, this isn't work, right? To me, this is just having fluff, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about money generating things, and that's the other thing. Even in this market, going back at that a little bit, you have to be spending 80% of your time in revenue generating activities.
Yeah.
Don't go to the wallet. Social media is great. It's not going to pay your bills, right? I mean, you've got to go back to your roots and really find out how am I going to run a business, because I invested in my brain $250,000 to do this business, and how am I going to build this business? How am I going to get more customers?
You said that before. I invested $250,000 in this business. To dive deeper in what you mean by that.
Okay, so when we become a realtor, right? Generally, $500 for a class, cheaper than that, but $500 for a class, and $1,000 to join the board. There's your investment, right? So your mindset isn't like, oh my God, I got to get this done because I'm broke, right? If you invested $250,000 to start your real estate business, I always say, what would you do differently? And the answer is the same from every single person. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And so I remember the first day, so I lost the online dating service, lost $82 million in 2000, ran the business for another year before we ran out of money, and got my license in 01, and I had $14,000 in my name. My bills were about $5,000 a month. So I had 3 months worth of revenue. And people would tell me that, if you sell 6 homes, you'll do well. I go, I'll be bankrupt. But I sat there my first day and I wrote my business plan.
Yeah.
Like, how many realtors do you know that sit down and write a business plan? None.
None. Yeah.
I wrote my business plan and I executed. And I sold 36 homes my first year and I was not broke anymore.
Yeah.
50 my second year, 80 my third year, 80 my fourth year, and started my brokerage. And I could have sold more, but here's another thing. We give ourselves standards. So if I had fallen into that, if I sell 6 homes my first year, I did good. How many homes would I have sold?
6.
Right?
Yeah.
I said, as long as I make $250 a year selling houses, I'll be fine. What did I make?
250.
Right. Even with me being successful, I still gave myself a lower standard. But that was my comfortable line. And the whole thing about being comfortable, you should be uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Be uncomfortable with comfortable. So you really need to take your standards and say, raise them up. And if you don't hit them, it's okay. My goal my first year was 50.
Yeah. Homes or million?
50 homes.
Okay.
No, 50. Average sale was $150,000 back then. Even 50 homes. But I sold 36. I wasn't very happy with myself. And then my broker said, that's unbelievable, right? I'm like, what? She goes, 36 homes your first year. is a lot for a brand new agent that didn't know anybody.
By who's by their standard.
By their standard.
Yeah.
I didn't know any people.
Yeah.
I was disappointed, and I sold 50 my second year, so it took me 2 years to get to my 50 number.
Yeah.
You know.
Very cool. So raising your standards, setting them as standards. I think a lot of people are coming up, as this market shifts and as we're coming toward the end of 2023, we always start this conversation about goals. And, I like using the word standards more than goals because, everyone, you can miss a goal. They miss goals in soccer games all the time, right? But when you say this is the standard of how I live my life, or this is the standard of how I operate, or this is the standard that I need to hit, that's definitely a more concrete statement. Right. But is there a method of planning those standards or setting those standards that you have that other people should maybe consider?
Yeah, well, I'll give you a couple of tips on this. Mm-hmm. And one I got from a good friend of mine, Craig Lurch, who's Craig, right?
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal guy, and he celebrates New Year's Eve November 1st.
Really? Okay.
Think about this. So in our business, realtors don't work in November, December. It's
Not
the holidays.
True. I don't understand that.
I started September 10, 2001, and that January I had 9 closings.
Yeah.
Because I killed it in November and December because nobody else was working. Mm-hmm. So he starts November 1st. So that's number one. This is a full-time job, right? Don't start. So in your mind, put yourself, I'm going to start over November 1st, not January 1st.
Yeah.
Right? Because instead of getting paid in March now, you're getting paid in January.
Yep.
Right? So,
absolutely.
So to me, that's how you do it. Write things down. Standards, goals, whatever you want to call them, mean absolutely nothing if they're not written down. I have for years. I haven't done this much the past couple of years because my goals have changed a lot. But what I do has changed a lot. But I would literally in my desk in front of me always
the vision board.
The goals. What are my goals and my plan? How am I going to get that? Everything is right in front of me on the wall in front of me every day. Because if you're not doing that, you're just not making it. The other thing is accountability.
Yeah.
Right. So why do people pay? I get paid $1,500 an hour for coaching, right? I don't charge anymore. So if you want free coaching, let me know. When I'm talking to people about their goals, nobody writes them down.
Yeah.
And I tell you, nobody has a business plan. It drives me crazy. And first thing I'll ask an agent that's come in this 2 years in the business. So what's your plan look like? Well, I'm going to sell houses. I'm like, yeah, I know you're going to sell houses. How are you going to do it?
How many?
And I do want to touch on go back to the market for a second.
Yeah.
My favorite line in the world is by Henry Ford is whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Mm-hmm. So immediately when the market shifts, and this isn't just realtors, by the way, mortgage people, everybody I know in our industry, they go to, well, I'm not doing as well because of.
They blame it on something.
Yeah, it's not. I know it's going to accountability. We'll go there in a second. See, that's my ADD mind goes back there.
You're good.
But, there it is. But it's so important, right?
Yeah.
And so accountability for myself, because I've never had an accountability partner. Mm-hmm. And so I'm my accountability partner.
Even your wife, though?
No.
Okay.
No, I've kept my wife pretty much separate from my business.
Okay.
She's a corporate girl. She's not entrepreneurial. She doesn't get this and moving in all these places because I moved this paper to this paper for 30 years, 40 years. But I call it the mirror to my success. And I do this every day. Every day I look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And here's the cool thing about life. You can rationalize to yourself all you want.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do this today because, right? Everybody does it. We all do it. I do it, right? But the reality is you can't look at in your eyes in a mirror and do that because you're lying. It's very powerful. I started doing it when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And somebody out of high school, I've been trying to find the person. All I have is the last name. I can't find the person who gave it to me.
Yeah.
And it was this thing about the mirror to your success. And I've been doing it since I was 21. And
so when do you do this in your
I shave in the morning in the mirror in the shower.
Yeah.
So I have my conversation every morning. And
what are you telling yourself in the?
Most of it is really I'm hard on myself about how hard I work.
Okay.
Like I really want to make sure that my granddaughter has a rare disease. My wife likes her stuff. I don't understand, for all you women out there, I don't understand the whole purse thing, but she told me they're an investment. Because it's expensive, but it's an investment. I'm like, when she did buy a Chanel purse, it was $3,400. It's now $4,000. So I guess it's
There you go. There you go.
It's worth more than some of my investments. We should probably just let her invest our money in purses.
There you go.
But mostly I'm just talking about, did I do what I was supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Right? How did I treat people? Did I help? My big thing right now is, did I help as many people as I did? And if I didn't help as many people as I want to help every day, that means I didn't do enough reach out. Which is if you're looking for customers, reach out, right?
Yeah.
To help enough people. So, but it's every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be a few times a week, but now it's every day because I'm more on an efficiency now. I work 35 hours a week, and in those 35 hours, but I'll guarantee you, my 35 hours, I'm outworking anybody that's working 80 hours
Yeah.
because I'm so structured. 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12. I do 45-minute meetings. I have 15 minutes to do my emails, make a couple phone calls, play my guitar because I play my guitar every hour for at least 5 minutes, and then get on my next call. And so very, very structured, which allows me to do way more efficient life. But here's the cool thing: I'm now living life. I missed it the first 40 years of being self-employed. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years, I made the conscious decision that I screwed up. It's a big lie. I mean, the 80 to 100-hour thing is a lie. It's what we're taught, especially my generation. My generation's my mentors, my dad, five of my friends had their family, their dads owned businesses, and they all worked. We never saw them.
Yeah.
So I just followed that path.
The business was their job.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was more. It was their identity.
It was their identity.
Yeah, and so I don't want this to be my identity anymore. I want me to help. I want my identity is Mitch Ribak guy helped me.
Yeah.
That's what I want my identity. But I'm really a grandfather, husband, father, puppy owner.
And so it really goes back to that core of consistency, right? Being consistent in your daily actions, being consistent in your time blocking. Time blocking is the
Huge.
most underrated daily habit for any entrepreneur, not just real estate agents. And then the visualization of goals. I love the fact that you talk to yourself in the mirror and you reiterate that, not only your goals, but what you did do, what you didn't do, because that's accountability for yourself. And I feel like everyone has, we all lie to ourselves, like you said.
Right.
We all have trouble holding ourselves accountable. Well, it's easier to hold someone else accountable than ourselves,
It is
for sure.
And that again, going back to coaching, that's why people hire a coach. I mean, I could teach you within a week how to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, if not more. Whatever you want to make, right? Depends on your price point. But I can't teach you work ethic. Right?
That is true.
And so my coaching business was really, they were paying me $1,500 an hour to make them accountable.
Yeah.
When I teach them, use the mirror, don't pay me. Like I didn't want them to give me their money. I mean, I was going to take it because I had to buy the purses, but, but I really, really want people to be successful without, some people need a coach.
Yeah.
Some people just can't do it. But it's really about accountability. That's all it is.
Is that self-discipline, diving on that, is self-discipline learned, just taught? Is it natural? Because I think that comes up in a lot of hiring conversations, or even when we're talking about agents who want to join our team, right? It's very difficult to judge or know when someone's trying to get into the business or move on to a team like ours, is like, okay, are you actually self-disciplined enough to do the work? Right.
I would say that's the number one thing. Discipline, it's not motivation, it's discipline.
It's discipline.
And people confuse those two because they are two separate things. You can be totally motivated, but if you're not disciplined, you're not making it.
Yeah.
And so it was, mine came out of necessity. Again, I was broke, right? So it was either, and remember, when my wife met me, and I hope she doesn't watch this, but I was rich, very rich. I was worth $82 million. I was very rich, right? I think that's rich at least. And then I wasn't. Now, and congrats to her for sticking with me, right? But the reality is I didn't want her to suffer the pain that I was feeling because she was my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, then my wife. And I didn't want her to feel what I was going through because it was horrible to lose that type of money.
Yeah.
When you've worked your entire life to make that type of money, right? And then I didn't want her feeling, so I was so motivated, but I knew I had to be disciplined to accomplish what I needed to accomplish, especially in the real estate world. Like even in my businesses that I own, I own a lot of companies, most of them were just jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't really grasp the whole, I was a good business guy. I would consider myself a great business guy now, but I didn't really grasp real business until I lost everything.
Why? Just from reflecting,
yeah.
Okay.
So what I'll tell people out there, especially chronic entrepreneurs like me, they know this. You don't learn that much from winning. You learn everything from losing.
Oh, for sure.
Everything. Like I learned, I've lost everything twice.
Yeah.
So I lost everything in 1990. I lost everything, like literally everything. My house, my car, my vacation home. I was the third paintball business in the country, made a ton of money, and then bought a restaurant and lost it all, right, within a year.
Yeah.
Well, actually, about almost 2 years. But I had the restaurant for a year, but I still didn't know how to do business. So I should have went bankrupt at that moment.
Yeah.
It took me a year and a half more to lose all my money to go bankrupt. If I went bankrupt then, as much as I'm not a fan of bankruptcy, but when you're a business guy and you're broke and you have $450,000 in debt, you got to do something, right?
Yeah.
And so learn. But I'll tell you the other thing about that. All of your negatives in your life, like, first of all, they're just a blip in time.
Yeah.
Just a blip where everybody makes a big deal. They're not a big deal. They're this much of your life, right? And it all happens for a reason. I'll give you this quick story. Like, it's really cool. So my dad, the day I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis from stress from the restaurant, 130 hours a week, losing $1,500 a week.
Whew.
Now I was making $30,000 a week before that with paintball, right? And then I'm losing $1,500 a week. I was working 3 days a week. Now I'm working 130 hours a week, losing $1,500 a week.
Yeah.
6 months into the business, and so I'm sitting there in the hospital with pancreatitis, and my dad comes in, and they just put him on the heart transplant list. And I made a decision that day that I have 2 little kids. I go, I'm going to die. And my doctors told me that. They go, this is going to kill you. So I closed the business, and it was horrible. It was financially a mess. Had to borrow money from my mother to get an apartment because I lost my house and everything. And but here's the bright side. I spent the next 4 days, every single day, 8 hours a day with my dad in the hospital. And those 4 months with my dad before he died, you can't get that back.
You can't.
I get your head. But you can't. So everything negative that's ever happened in my life, there was always the step to awesomeness. And in the moment you don't feel that,
You only feel the pain.
you feel the pain.
Yeah.
But I try to teach people, when that pain you're getting right now is awesome, it's the worst it's going to get.
Yeah.
And you're going to move forward. And even losing the $82 million, which I still haven't figured out the message there. There's a message there. But well, actually,
The message is you can build it back.
well, yeah, I'm not going to try. I don't like that money that much anymore. But here's, there was a kind of a message behind that. So, I don't know what my life would have been like at that, but one thing I know I wouldn't have done is impacted the amount of people I've impacted the last 22 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be with my wife. I wouldn't have met her, right? So I wouldn't have my grandkids. There's a lot of stuff I wouldn't have because my grandkids are on my wife's side. Well, one's on my son's side now, but all this stuff that my life is so purposeful for now, I would never have had. Now I might have. I don't know what my life would look like, but I wouldn't have had the much of experience in life that I've got to experience the last 22 years.
Yeah.
You know,
Learning from other people, not just, doing the work, but, working on yourself and your skills. EXP has a lot of resources for the brokerage and or for the agents and a lot of training. I find that books are my go-to. You mentioned earlier that you don't read, so you listen to Audible. But tell me, for a real estate agent now, either one who's in the business or wants to get in the business, what's the most impactful book for them? And then maybe now in your life, what's been the book that's been the most impactful where you are in your life now?
So you have business books and personal books.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
So business-wise, 2 books that made huge impacts in my life were E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Okay.
It's about a girl in a pie shop and running a business by herself.
Yeah.
And it's such a good metaphor for real estate. Now, they make real estate ones. I've never read them. E-Myth Revisited is the one. He's got multiple books. But it's about delegation. It's about running a business, not having a job. Most people are technicians and not business people,
Absolutely.
right? And so that's one. The other one is Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Okay.
And that's just a phenomenal book about running a business properly, not being mediocre, always leveling up. The line in that book is good is the enemy of great. Like, nobody shoots for great anymore because they're happy being good.
Yeah.
Good sucks.
Good is settling.
Good is settling. It's comfortable, right?
Yeah.
You can always talk about be uncomfortable with comfortable. And then on a personal note, is a book called Die with Zero. And that's just life and money in life and making sure you're creating memories. Again, I said earlier, I missed life. I read that book. It changed my life. I stopped missing life that day.
Yeah.
In fact, I could tell you very quickly, we had a week planned vacation in Estes Park, Colorado, and I read that book. The next day, I hired someone to take my job. I hired someone to take Pat's job.
Yeah.
Right, because I went back, made Pat read the book, and made my wife read the book. And I told my wife, I go, we're going to take the month of September off. We had a week planned.
Yeah.
She goes, what do you mean? She goes, you can't do that. I go, no, actually I can, and I need to. And so I just got back recently from a 3-week vacation.
Yeah.
And then I took a week off and had another week vacation. So I did 4 weeks and 5 weeks. 4 weeks off and 5 weeks.
Nice.
And so it's about living life. And the reality is the world doesn't fall apart when you're not there. It's still there when you get back. Trust me.
Biggest misconception, right?
Yeah.
For all of us, we just think it's all going to end.
Yeah, but those are my 3 favorite books.
Yeah. So say the last one more time.
Die with Zero.
Die with Zero.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of books I've read. The Energy Bus is one of my favorite ones, especially for running a team.
Yeah.
Because it's that one person on your team that's negative, they're cancer, and they will destroy your whole bus.
Energy Buzz.
Energy Bus.
Bust.
Yeah.
Gonna check out that one too.
Yeah.
Perfect. I just finally got back into reading, like physically reading a book that I haven't been doing in the last 5 years. And I picked up Profit First.
Okay, sure. I know the book.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I know the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've just been game changer. So guys, don't stop learning and expanding your skills, because otherwise you're being comfortable.
Yeah. And don't confuse people that sell a lot of homes as being successful.
Oh, absolutely.
I know people
big
that sell
misconception.
30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 homes. Yeah, I know a guy that sells 80 homes a year, works 100 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
He's miserable because he built this rat race. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say, not to get on EXP, but that's one thing about EXP is it's given us the ability to create other streams of revenue doing exactly what we do to create freedom. And that's what life's all about, is how do you get to freedom.
Yeah. Someone told me once that their neighbor is driving a Porsche in this giant house, has a boat and everything, and was living, 2 paychecks away from being bankrupt.
It's most people. This is another great book called The Millionaire Next Door.
Yeah.
Which talks about that.
Yeah.
And I had one next door to me. He's passed away now. This guy Jerry, right, drove a Buick, wore jeans, and it was worth like $10 million.
Yeah.
Lived at the time in the house. He paid about, I don't know, $80,000 for his house, and the house is worth a lot more now. They're worth about $700 now, but he was the millionaire next door.
Yeah.
He was him. It was great.
Well, I want to say thank you for joining us today
It's been
and
fun.
providing your insights. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. Like Mitch said, he has free coaching that you can just reach out and have a conversation with. And don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Ben Laube, or anyone on the Ben Laube Homes team if you guys need any help or assistance. I appreciate you turning in. And hope we get to do this again, probably at EXPCon.
Yeah, what are you doing tomorrow? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right?
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys. Hey, it's Ben, team leader of Ben Laube Homes. If you like this video, check out our next one or anything else on our YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe link, or start your home search at our website anytime you want.